I thought catching my wife cheating was the worst betrayal possible. Then I discovered she'd been stealing from our family business for years. But when her sister showed up with a sealed envelope months after the divorce, I learned the horrifying truth. Claire wasn't just a cheater and a thief. My name is Oliver Holbrook. I'm 44 years old and I run Holbrook Plumbing Services here in Springfield, Missouri. Started the company with my dad, Vernon Back, when I was barely out of high school. We built it from nothing. Just me, him, and an old Ford van that broke down more often than it ran. Now we've got 6 trucks, 8 employees, and contracts with half the subdivisions in town. Claire always handled the books while I handled the wrenches. Seemed like a perfect partnership. That Tuesday started normal enough. October weather in Missouri can be tricky, but it was one of those crisp days that makes you grateful to work outdoors. I was finishing up a job at the Riverside Development replacing water heaters in 3 units when my phone buzzed. Text from Claire. Working late tonight. Client dinner. Don't wait up. Nothing unusual there. Claire worked at Morrison Marketing downtown, handling campaigns for local businesses. She'd been putting in long hours lately. Said they landed some big retail account that demanded constant attention. I trusted her. Hell, after 16 years of marriage, why wouldn't I? But something nagged at me as I loaded my tools back into the truck. Maybe it was the way she'd been distant lately, or how she jumped every time her phone rang. Little things that didn't add up, like puzzle pieces from different boxes. I decided to swing by her office around 7. Bring her some dinner from that Italian place she loves. Figured she'd appreciate the gesture, and honestly, I miss spending time with her. Between my work schedule and her new demanding clients, we've been like ships passing in the night. Morrison Marketing sat in a converted warehouse downtown, all glass and exposed brick. Very modern, very Claire. I parked across the street and grabbed the takeout bag, but stopped when I spotted her car in the lot. That blue Honda she'd driven for 5 years. Parked next to a black BMW I didn't recognize. The building looked mostly empty except for a few lit windows on the 2nd floor. I could see Claire's silhouette through the conference room glass. But she wasn't alone. A man in a suit stood close to her, closer than any business meeting required. As I watched, frozen on the sidewalk with cooling pasta in my hands, he reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. That's when my world shifted. Claire laughed at something he said. That musical laugh I fell in love with 20 years ago, and leaned into him. Then they kissed slow and deliberate, like they'd done 1,000 times before. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking like a teenager, and snapped a photo through the window. The image burned into my retina. My wife of 16 years in another man's arms, both of them smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. The pasta felt like lead in my hands as I walked back to my truck, legs moving on autopilot. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at that photo before finally starting the engine and driving home to our empty house. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't face walking into our house, seeing Claire's coffee mug in the sink, her book on the nightstand, all the little traces of the life we'd built together. Instead, I drove to the Comfort Lodge on Highway 65, paid cash for a room, and sat on the scratchy bedspread staring at that photo on my phone. The image haunted me. Claire's face tilted up toward the stranger, her hand resting on his chest like she belonged there. I zoomed in, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. The man looked familiar, though I couldn't place him immediately. Well-dressed, confident, the kind of guy who probably drove that black BMW. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Just finished. Heading home now. Love you. Love you. The words felt like a slap. I turned off the phone and tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. By morning, I felt like I'd been hit by one of my own pipe wrenches. I called my foreman, Bobby, and told him I was sick. First time I'd missed work in 3 years, but I couldn't trust myself around customers, not with this rage burning in my chest like acid. Instead, I drove to my dad's place at Sunset Manor. Vernon Holbrook, 71 years old and sharp as ever. Despite the doctors saying his memory was starting to slip, he'd build plumbing from nothing, taught me everything about pipes, business, and being a man. If anyone could help me think straight, it was him. "You look like hell, son," Vernon said when I walked into his small apartment. He was sitting in his recliner, reading the morning paper like he had every day for 50 years. "Dad, I need to ask you something," I said, settling into the chair across from him. "When Mom was, when you suspected she was stepping out, what did you do?" His face darkened. "Mom had left when I was 12. Ran off with some traveling salesman." Dad never talked about it much, but I knew it nearly broke him. "I gathered proof," Vernon said quietly. "Couldn't accuse her without being certain. But Oliver, once you know for sure, you can't unknow it. You prepared for that?" I nodded, though I wasn't prepared for anything. "How do I find out who he is?" Vernon leaned forward, his weathered hands gripping the chair arms. "You start digging careful-like and you document everything. If this goes where I think it's going, you'll need ammunition." He was right. I couldn't just confront Claire based on one photo. I needed facts, evidence, a complete picture. My dad had always taught me to measure twice, cut once. Same principle applied here. That afternoon, I drove past Morrison Marketing again. The black BMW was there, parked in the same spot. I wrote down the license plate, then waited. Around 5:30, Claire emerged with the same man from last night. They walked to their cars separately, but the way he looked at her, the small smile they shared, it told me everything. I followed the BMW to an upscale apartment complex across town, watch him park, and head inside. Tomorrow, I find out exactly who this guy was. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 16 years of marriage. I went through Claire's things. Started with her purse while she was in the shower, hands shaking like a burglar in my own house. Found receipts for restaurants I'd never been to, gas stations on the other side of town, and a credit card I didn't recognize. The car belonged to our business account for Holbrook Plumbing. Claire had always handled the books, said it was easier for her to manage since she understood marketing expenses. I trusted her completely. Biggest mistake of my life. After Claire left for work, I drove straight to First National Bank. Helen Rodriguez, our account manager for 10 years, greeted me with her usual warm smile. "Oliver, what brings you in today?" Helen asked, gesturing toward her desk. "Need to look at our business statements, Helen?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Claire mentioned some discrepancies I should check. Helen pulled up our accounts on her computer, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Transfers to companies I'd never heard of. Kellerman Consulting, Premium Solutions LLC, Strategic Marketing Group. Small amounts, never more than $2,000 a time, but they added up. In 6 months, nearly $23,000 had disappeared from our business. "Helen, can you print me statements going back 2 years?" I asked, my jaw clenched tight. "Of course, Oliver. Is everything all right?" "Just being thorough," I lied. Back in my truck, I spread the statements across the dashboard. The pattern was clear. Claire had been systematically draining our business account, covering her tracks with fake vendor payments. The woman who kissed me goodbye every morning had been stealing from our family for years. My phone rang. Mateo, my 22-year-old son from my first marriage with Nina. "Dad, you sound weird." Mateo said everything okay. Mateo was studying business at Missouri State. Sharp kid with his mother's intuition. I'd always been straight with him, but this felt too raw to share. Just work stuff, son. Hey, you still taking that forensic accounting class? Yeah, why? You got some white-collar crime you need solved? He joked. Maybe. Can you meet me tonight? I need someone I trust to look at some numbers. There was a pause. Dad, you're scaring me. What's going on tonight, son? Bring your laptop. I had one more stop to make. Shane Kellerman. I'd figured out who he was from the apartment complex's directory. Kellerman Consulting had been bleeding our account dry. Time to learn exactly who was sleeping with my wife. For the next week, I played the role of devoted husband while building my case. Brought Claire coffee in bed, complimented her new haircut, even suggested a weekend getaway. All while documenting every lie, every suspicious phone call, every time she claimed to be working late. The hardest part was acting normal around 6-year-old Lily. My little girl would run to me when I got home from work, throw her arms around my neck, and tell me about her day at school. She had no idea her world was about to implode. Daddy, why don't you and Mommy laugh together anymore? Lily asked one evening while I helped her with homework. The question hit me like a wrench to the gut. What do you mean, sweetheart? You used to laugh at Mommy's jokes. Now you just smile with your mouth, not your eyes. Kids see everything. I hugged her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. Sometimes grown-ups get busy and forget to have fun. But that doesn't mean we don't love each other. The lie tasted bitter. But I couldn't burden a 6-year-old with the truth. That night, after Lily was asleep, I met Mateo at a 24-hour diner outside town. My son looked concerned as I slid a manila folder across the booth. Dad, what's all this? Mateo asked, flipping through bank statements and printed emails. Your stepmother's been stealing from the business. I need you to help me prove it. Mateo's face went pale. Are you sure? Maybe there's an explanation, Dash. Son, I caught her with another man. The money's just a cherry on top of this mess. For the next 2 hours, Mateo walked me through the financial evidence. His business classes had taught him to spot irregularities, and CLA's scheme was amateur hour compared to what he'd studied. Dad, this is embezzlement. Clear as day, Mateo said finally. These vendor payments. I called 3 of the companies. 2 don't exist, and the 3rd has never heard of Hullbrook Plumbing. What's my next move, son? Mateo closed his laptop, his jaw set with determination I recognized from his mother. You document everything, hire a lawyer, and you take her for everything she's worth. But Dad, are you ready for this fight? I thought about Lily sleeping peacefully in her bedroom, about the business my father and I built from nothing, about 16 years of marriage built on lies. Son, I've been ready since the moment I saw her in another man's arms. Armed with Mateo's analysis and 2 years of bank statements, I drove to the law offices of Patricia Wells, the toughest divorce attorney in Springfield. Pat had handled my buddy Rick's messy divorce 5 years back, taken his cheating ex-wife to the cleaners. If anyone could navigate this nightmare, it was her. Pat's office sat in a converted Victorian house downtown, all dark wood and serious legal books. She was in her 50s, silver-haired with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. The kind of woman who could smell weakness from across the room. Oliver Hullbrook, she said, shaking my hand with a grip that could crush pipe fittings. Rick Torres spoke highly of you. What can I do for you? I laid out everything. The photo of Claire and Shane, the embezzled funds, Mateo's financial analysis. Pat listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. $23,000 in 6 months. Pat asked, reviewing the bank statements. Oliver, this isn't just adultery. This is felony theft. Your wife could face criminal charges. I don't want to destroy her, I said. I just want to protect my daughter and my business. Pat leaned back in her leather chair. Noble sentiment, but Claire's already destroyed herself. The question is, how much of your life are you willing to let her take with her? She had a point. Claire had been playing a long game, systematically bleeding our business while playing loving wife at home. The woman who'd kissed Lily goodnight last week was the same one stealing from our daughter's future. What do I need to do? I asked. We need more evidence. I'm talking surveillance photos, financial records, witness testimony. The more ammunition we have, the better settlement we can negotiate. You want to keep your business in custody of Lily? We go nuclear. Pat introduced me to a private investigator named Tom Davidson, a former police detective who specialized in infidelity cases. Tom was my age, soft-spoken, but with eyes that had seen too much. Shane Kellerman's been on my radar before, Tom said as we sat in his office. He's got a pattern. Targets married women with access to money, bleeds them dry, then moves on. Your wife isn't his first victim. How many others? I asked. At least 3 that I know of. One woman lost her house, another her family business. Kellerman Smooth knows exactly what buttons to push. The revelation hit me like cold water. Claire wasn't just cheating, she was being played by a professional con artist. Part of me felt sorry for her. But that sympathy died when I remembered Lily's innocent question about why Mommy and Daddy didn't laugh together anymore. Can you give me proof? I asked Tom. Give me 2 weeks. I'll get you everything you need. That night, I went home and played the perfect husband one more time. Made dinner, helped Lily with homework, even suggested Claire and I watch a movie together. She seemed distracted, kept checking her phone, but I just smiled and pretended not to notice. After she went to bed, I sat in my workshop holding a photo of Lily from her first day of kindergarten. My little girl deserved better than this mess. Whatever it took, I make sure she got it. 2 weeks later, Tom Davidson delivered a manila envelope that changed everything. Photos of Claire and Shane at restaurants, hotels, walking hand in hand through downtown Springfield, like they didn't have a care in the world. Financial records showing Shane had used similar schemes with other women. Bank deposits into Claire's personal account that matched the missing business funds. Your wife's been funneling money to Kellerman through fake consulting fees, Tom explained. He takes his cut. She keeps the rest. They've got about $40,000 stashed in a joint account in Kansas City. $40,000. Nearly 2 years of profits from our business, stolen and hidden while I worked 60-hour weeks to keep us afloat. Pat Wells reviewed everything with the precision of a surgeon. Oliver, we've got enough here to own her. Embezzlement, adultery, fraud. She'll be lucky to avoid jail time, let alone get custody or alimony. What about Lily? I asked. I don't want her to see her mother arrested. We'll handle this quietly. Offer Claire's settlement. She gives up all claims to the business and accepts minimal custody in exchange for us not pressing criminal charges. Most cheaters take the deal rather than face prison. That Friday evening, I waited until Lily was at a sleepover before confronting Claire. She came home around 10 m, claiming she'd been working late on the Henderson account. The same lie she'd been telling for months. How was work, honey? I asked, standing in our kitchen with a manila envelope behind my back. Exhausting, Claire said, not meeting my eyes. This client is so demanding, I might need to work this weekend too. Which client would that be? Claire the Henderson account or Shane Kellerman? The color drained from her face like someone had pulled the plug. Her purse slipped from her fingers, contents spilling across the kitchen floor. "Oliver, I can explain." Dash. "Explain what?" I pulled out one of Tom's photos showing her and Shane kissing outside the Marriott downtown. "Explain this. Or maybe you can explain the $40,000 you've stolen from our business." Claire sank into a kitchen chair, her hands shaking. "How long have you known?" "Long enough. Long enough to hire a lawyer, an investigator, and to document every lie you've told me for the past year." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Oliver. Shane said we could start fresh, that he loved me." Dash. "Shane's a con artist, Claire. You're not the first married woman he scammed, and you won't be the last." The truth hit her like a physical blow. She bent forward, sobbing into her hands, finally understanding she'd been played by an expert. "What happens now?" she whispered. I placed Pat Wells' business card on the table. "You call my lawyer on Monday morning. We're getting divorced, Claire. The only question is whether you cooperate or whether I press criminal charges for the theft." She looked up at me one last time. The woman I'd loved for 16 years, now a stranger sitting in our kitchen. "What about Lily?" "Lily deserves a father who won't lie to her," I said, walking toward the door. "I'll be at my dad's place. Don't be here when I get back." 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I moved Lily and myself into a modest 2-bedroom house on the outskirts of Springfield. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. No lies, no hidden agendas, just a father and daughter starting fresh. The settlement had been brutal for Claire. She'd agreed to give up all claims to Holbrook Plumbing, accepted supervised visitation with Lily every other weekend, and avoided criminal charges by agreeing to pay restitution. The hardest part wasn't the legal battles or the financial mess. It was explaining to a 6-year-old why Mommy didn't live with us anymore. "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" Lily asked one evening as I tucked her in her new bedroom. Pink walls covered with her drawings, stuffed animals arranged just like in our old house. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups make bad choices that hurt their families. But that's never ever your fault. Will Mommy come back?" The question broke my heart every time. "Mommy made some mistakes, Lily. She'll always love you, but she can't live with us anymore." Lily nodded solemnly, then wrapped her small arms around my neck. "It's okay, Daddy. We're still a family, just smaller, out of the mouth of babes." Business was actually thriving. Word had gotten out about Claire's embezzlement, and somehow that made customers trust me more. They saw a man who'd been betrayed, but handled it with dignity, who protected his business and his daughter without destroying anyone unnecessarily. Contracts were rolling in faster than I could handle them. Mateo had graduated early and joined the business full-time, bringing fresh ideas and the latest technology. Having my son as a partner felt like completing a circle my father had started decades ago. "Dad, we need to talk about expanding," Mateo said one afternoon as we finished installing a new water heater system. "We've got more work than we can handle, and I've got ideas for growing the company." "What kind of ideas?" "Commercial contracts, office buildings, apartment complexes, big money, steady work. But we need more crews, better equipment." I looked at my son, 22 years old, sharp as a tack, with the same drive that a Bill Holbrook Plumbing from nothing. "You think we're ready for that?" "I think we're ready for anything, Dad. Question is, are you ready to trust someone with the books again?" That hit deep. After Claire's betrayal, I've been handling all the financial aspects myself. Staying up late, balancing ledgers, and paying bills. But Mateo was right. If we want to grow, I needed help. We do this together, I said finally. Full partnership. Your name on the business license. But we both sign every check over $500. Mateo grinned. The same smile that had gotten him out of trouble as a kid. Deal. But I want one more thing. What's that? We changed the name to Holbrook and Son Plumbing. 3 generations of Holbrook men building something that lasts. I shook my son's hand, feeling my father's pride echo through the years. Holbrook and Son it is. Life had settled into a comfortable routine. Lily was thriving in her new school. Mateo and I were building the business into something bigger than my father had ever imagined. And I'd even started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee with Sarah, the teacher who lived down the street. Then Na showed up. My ex-wife appeared at the front door on a Saturday morning, looking older, but still carrying herself with the confidence that had attracted me 25 years ago. Lily was at Claire's supervised visit, so it was just me and a woman I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. "Hello, Oliver," Nana said, her voice softer than I remembered. "Can we talk?" We sat on my back porch drinking coffee and watching the sun climb over the Missouri hills. Na had remarried after our divorce, moved to California with her new husband. I'd wondered sometimes what might have been different if we'd fought harder for our marriage, instead of giving up when things got tough. "I heard about Claire," Nana said finally. "Mateo told me some of what happened. He shouldn't have worried you with our problems. Our son was worried about his father. That's what good kids do." She paused, studying my face. "How are you holding up?" "Better than I expected. Lily's adjusting well. Business is good. We're making it work." Na nodded, then reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. "Oliver, there's something you need to know about Claire's family." My blood went cold. "What about them?" "Claire has a sister. Her name is Amy, and she's been trying to reach you for weeks. Apparently, Claire never mentioned her during your marriage." "No. Claire said she was an only child, that her parents died when she was young. That was a lie. Amy's been searching for Claire since she disappeared 3 weeks ago." The coffee mug slipped from my hands, shattering on the porch boards. "What do you mean, disappeared?" Na handed me the envelope. "Amy hired a private investigator. Claire and Shane Kellerman vanished from Kansas City the same day your divorce was finalized. Cleaned out their joint bank account, abandoned their apartment, just gone." I opened the envelope of shaking hands. Inside were photos of Claire and Shane, police reports, bank records showing massive withdrawals. At the bottom was a handwritten note. "Mr. Holbrook, my sister Claire is missing. The police won't help because she's an adult who left voluntarily. But I know something's wrong. Claire would never abandon her daughter willingly. Please call me Amy Patterson. Nina, why are you bringing me this? Because despite everything Claire did to you, she's still Lily's mother. And if something's happened to her?" I stared at the photos, remembering the broken woman who'd sat in my kitchen 6 months ago, finally understanding she'd been manipulated by a professional con artist. "What do you think I should do?" Na stood up, brushing off her jeans. "I think you should call Amy Patterson. Not because you owe Claire anything, but because someday Lily's going to ask what happened to her mother, and you want to be able to say you did everything you could to find out." 2 months after my conversation with Nina, I was working late in my home office when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman who looked remarkably like Claire. Same dark hair, same delicate features, but with tired eyes that had seen too much. "Mr. Holbrook, I'm Amy Patterson, Claire's sister. I called several times. But Dash, I know who you are, I said, opening the door. Come in. Amy sat on my couch, clutching a manila envelope with trembling hands. She looked exhausted, like she'd been driving for days without sleep. They found Claire's body yesterday, Amy said without preamble, in a lake outside Denver. She'd been there for weeks. The words hit me like a physical blow. Despite everything Claire had done, hearing about her death felt surreal. I thought about Lily, asleep upstairs, who would never see her mother again. What happened? Police say it was suicide. Drove her car into the lake. Probably couldn't live with the guilt of what she'd done. Amy's voice was bitter. But I know my sister. Claire was many things, but she wasn't a quitter. Amy opened the envelope and pulled out a handwritten letter. The police found this in her hotel room, sealed with your name on it. They released it to me as next of kin. I took the letter with shaking hands. Claire's familiar handwriting filled 2 pages. Oliver, if you're reading this, something's gone wrong. I know you hate me, and you have every right to. I destroyed our marriage, stole from our business, and worst of all, I hurt Lily. But I need you to know the truth about Shane. He wasn't just a con artist, he was dangerous. When I tried to leave him after the divorce, he threatened to hurt you and Lily if I didn't keep stealing money. I was trapped, Oliver. Every dollar I took was to keep him away from our daughter. I've been planning to disappear, to lead him away from Springfield so he could never find our family. If something happens to me, please protect Lily. Shane Kellerman is not the man he pretends to be. He's hurt other women, and he'll hurt more if someone doesn't stop him. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but please don't let Lily think her mother was just a thief and a cheater. I loved her more than my own life. Everything I did wrong was to keep her safe. The letter was signed with a shaky C and included copies of threatening text messages from Shane, photos of bruises on Claire's arms, and bank records showing larger theft that corresponded with his escalating demands. Amy, have you shown this to the police? They don't care. Case is closed as far as they're concerned. Cheating wife kills herself out of guilt. Neat and simple. I read the letter again, seeing Claire's desperation between the lines. She made terrible choices, but in the end, she tried to protect the only thing that mattered, our daughter. What do you need from me? Help me prove Shane Kellerman. Kill my sister. Claire was swimming to shore when she died. Oliver. The autopsy showed water in her lungs, but also evidence she'd been fighting for her life. I looked at the threatening messages, at the escalating pattern of abuse, and made a decision that would have made my father proud. Amy, I'll help you. Not for Claire, but for Lily. Someday my daughter's going to ask about her mother, and I want to be able to tell her that Claire died trying to protect her family. 6 months later, Shane Kellerman was arrested at a casino in Las Vegas, charged with Claire's murder and a string of financial crimes spanning 3 states. The evidence Amy and I gathered, combined with testimony from his other victims, painted a picture of a predator who used charm and manipulation to destroy families. The trial was a media circus, but justice was served. Kellerman got life without parole for murder, plus 20 years for fraud and extortion. During his testimony, he finally admitted to killing Claire when she threatened to expose his operation to the FBI. I never told Lily the full details of her mother's death. That's a conversation for when she's older. But I did tell her that Mommy made some mistakes, but died trying to protect our family. Sometimes the truth has to be measured out in doses as a child can handle. Daddy, do you think Mommy can see us from heaven? Lily asked one evening as we visited Claire's grave. Amy had arranged for a proper burial in Springfield, close enough for Lily to visit when she wanted to. I think she can, sweetheart. And I think she's proud of what a smart, kind little girl you become. Lily placed a drawing on the headstone, a picture of our family, including a figure with wings watching over us. I drew Mommy as an angel. Miss Sarah at school says, that's what happens to people who love their families. Life had moved forward in ways I never expected. Sarah, the teacher from down the street, had become a constant presence in our lives. She was patient with Lily, supportive of my relationship with Mateo, and brought a warmth to our house that had been missing for too long. "Oh, are you going to marry Miss Sarah?" Lily asked as we walked back to the car. "Would that be okay with you?" "I think Mommy would want us to be happy, and Miss Sarah makes good pancakes from the mouths of babes." Hullbrook and Sun Plumbing was thriving beyond my wildest dreams. Mateo's business since, and my experience had created something my father would have been proud of. We'd expanded into commercial work, hired 6 new employees, and were bidding on a contract to plumb the new hospital being built downtown. Amy Patterson had become an unexpected ally, even a friend. She visited monthly, giving Lily a connection to Claire's family while respecting the boundaries of her new life. Some relationships are forged in crisis and tempered by shared purpose. That evening, I sat on my back porch with a beer, watching Lily and Sarah plant flowers in the garden. The sun was setting over the Missouri hills, painting everything golden, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely at peace. My phone buzzed with a text from Nina. "Saw the news about Kellerman's conviction. Proud of you for seeing it through. Lily's lucky to have you as her father." I'd learned that being a man wasn't about avoiding hardship. It was about facing it head-on, protecting what mattered, and building something better from the wreckage. Claire's betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it had also shown me what I was capable of when everything was on the line. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to prove myself as a father, a businessman, and a man. But tonight, watching my daughter laugh with the woman who might become her stepmother, I was content knowing that some things, the important things, couldn't be stolen or destroyed. They could only be built one honest choice at a time.